A life defined. The air in Harmony Springs was thick with the scent of freshly cut grass and the lingering sweetness of honeysuckle. It was a town where time seemed to move at its own languid pace, where Sundays were sacred, and where the whispers of gossip traveled faster than the wind. For Sarah Grace, Harmony Springs was the only world she had ever known, a world where conformity was a badge of honor and deviation a whispered sin. Raised in a devoutly religious household where every aspect of her life, from her clothes to her thoughts, was dictated by biblical pronouncements, Sarah Grace had learned to navigate the labyrinth of expectations with a quiet grace that concealed a burgeoning storm of unease. Her days unfolded in a predictable rhythm: sunrise prayers, scripture readings, church services, and the endless cycle of chores and errands. Each activity was imbued with the weight of tradition, a testament to the unwavering faith that had shaped her family's identity for generations. Her father, a stern and imposing figure, was a pillar of the community, his voice resonating in the hushed reverence of Sunday sermons. Her mother, a gentle soul with eyes that held a melancholic wisdom, was a tireless caretaker, ensuring that every need was met, every prayer recited, every sin confessed. But beneath the surface of this seemingly idyllic life, a discordant note began to resonate. A growing disquiet, a silent yearning for something beyond the confines of their world began to stir within Sarah Grace. It was a yearning that manifested in stolen glances at the open sky, a longing for the uncharted territories beyond the familiar horizon. She found herself drawn to the whisper of doubt, a fragile whisper that dared to question the absolute truths she had been taught. Her encounters with outsiders, the occasional travelers who passed through Harmony Springs, sparked a flicker of curiosity, an insatiable desire to explore the unknown. These fleeting encounters, though brief and fleeting, planted a seed of rebellion within her, a seed that would eventually blossom into a defiant act of self-discovery. Every Sunday, Sarah Grace sat in the pew, surrounded by familiar faces, listening to her father's booming voice, the words of Scripture echoing through the hallowed halls of the church. But the comfort she once felt in these rituals had begun to fade, replaced by a sense of unease, a dissonance between the pronouncements of her faith and the questioning whispers within her own heart. She felt like a captive in her own life, trapped in a gilded cage of expectations, unable to break free from the relentless weight of her family's legacy. The whispers of doubt grew louder, becoming an insistent murmur that refused to be silenced. The rigid interpretations of Scripture that had once provided a sense of security now felt like shackles, constricting her spirit and suffocating her dreams. The more she tried to cling to the familiar truths, the more she felt the pull of something else, a force that drew her toward the uncharted territories of her own heart. Her secret thoughts, the burgeoning seeds of dissent, were kept safely locked away, hidden from the scrutiny of her family and the judgmental eyes of her community. She knew that revealing her doubts would be met with disapproval, perhaps even ostracism, and so she kept her internal struggle a carefully guarded secret. Yet the weight of her secret grew heavier with each passing day, a constant reminder of the chasm that had opened between her private thoughts and the public persona she was expected to portray. One crisp autumn afternoon, as Sarah Grace was tending to her garden, a lone figure appeared at the edge of their property. It was a young woman, her clothes worn and her hair tangled, her face etched with a weariness that belied her youth. She carried a weathered backpack, her belongings meager and her gaze hesitant. Sarah Grace, drawn by an inexplicable pull, invited her in. As the stranger sat at their kitchen table, Sarah Grace learned her name was Amelia, a young woman fleeing a past she could not outrun. Her story was one of hardship and disappointment, a narrative that spoke of dreams shattered and hopes dwindling. Sarah Grace listened intently, her heart aching with a sense of empathy that transcended the barriers of their different worlds. In Amelia's story, she found a reflection of her own hidden desires, a yearning for something more, a longing for a life less defined. Amelia's words, though spoken with a gentle cadence, carried a power that resonated deep within Sarah Grace. They were words that spoke of freedom, of self-discovery, of the courage to embrace the unknown.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.